Why, what happened?
Well,
Right, some of the other things.
they got two counselors on
We're good?
leave. The superintendent's taking a leave of absence, and they want to fire the assistant superintendent. Other than that,
Situation.
things are going good.
One
Well,
second.
thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Happy to be here.
No, Mary is not on.
Okay, she might.
can I go?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'll keep an eye on that.
So we will discuss the feedback from the Camden Wilbraham Boards of Select. So the last meeting that we had with both Boards of Select from Camden and Wilbraham, Camden Advisory and Wilbraham FinCom Committee regarding the reconfiguration.
Well, I think my first comment is, I think there's a consensus that everyone's willing to open up the regional agreement.
Yeah,
Not quite sure where to open it up in K through 8 or 6 through 12 or whatever, but
Yeah.
there's a consensus to do that, I believe.
agreed.
There's some, expressed some trauma from the last time they attempted to do that, but I think with appropriate counseling, we can overcome that. And that was my main impression. No, I thought everyone was pretty open to doing that, which is good.
I think that they like that we're taking the time and putting it into the process. I got the impression when we were meeting with Wilbraham and Hamden, when we were talking about the budget,
Yeah.
that there was some feeling that we weren't going fast enough, doing some fast enough. And then when they came to that meeting, after that meeting, I think that they understood what we were doing, and I think that that was a positive. So, yeah.
I'm in agreement. I think it was a positive conversation. I think the feedback was really helpful, and I think between this meeting, between the meeting with these boards and then also the staff, I think there was a lot of, similar comments about making sure that we're doing our due diligence, taking the time. And it was interesting to hear the different perspectives that each, whether it was talking about neighborhood schools, whether we opened up at 8 to 12, or even the conversation surrounding, could we open from regionalized from K to 12.
Right, yeah.
So I think it's all worthwhile conversations.
I was taking notes on how many were saying of people there that were for the K through 12 and how many were there for the 6 through 12. And there were very distinct lines, but the closer we got to the end of the meeting, it bled over. People who were saying K through 12 kind of was thinking, hey, maybe 6 through 12, and people who weren't 6 through 12 were thinking maybe K through 12. So, but the good news is, and I think I said it at the meeting, was both of those conversations are great, because there isn't the conversation of, no, we can't do anything, we shouldn't do anything. So that was the positive. That's the positive. And people that I'm talking to, people I have been talking to, I've been, anyone who will listen, or anyone who will be willing to speak to me, I'll listen. And I've been hearing a lot of positive about this. The funding formula doesn't seem to be something that anyone was against, from either side. Doing like a 7-year rolling average or a 5-year rolling average, something like that, just so that the swings back and forth won't be so drastic. And I do have to say, and this is harking back to a couple meetings before, but the same crew was around the table. I think it was Carolyn said that, or maybe it was Doug, one of them from Hamden said, right now we're in a position we can fund this budget, but we are letting you know that there might be a time in the future when we can't. Where we don't have the money available and stuff like that. So that's why we're doing this. We're having this conversation. We need to keep that open, and I thought that was very powerful.
We had a little discussion about it last night at the select board meeting, talking about the possibility of it passing, and there was a lot of animosity the last time, but I said, I think the tenor has changed, and it's changed because people have sent their children to Wilbraham Middle School.
Yeah.
And guess what? It wasn't the end of the world.
Right.
They found out that this wasn't so bad. My kid got an education. He's happy over there. He's, so I think there's a big change there. I think there was a lot of fear before, but now they say, gee, And I also thought that Terry's idea of changing the name of the region was good. Then I started thinking about changing the name of the middle schools. I mean, instead of, whether it's Wilbraham or Thornton Burgess, you just make it the regional middle school. So you're kind of a different, we got a brand, you know, different brand and all these things. So.
I ran that by, a while ago, years ago, I would say, to some people from Wilbraham. I said, what if we combined everything together, and what if we called Wilbraham Middle School the Thurton W. Burgess Middle School? And I don't think anyone had a problem with that. I mean, he was a poet, right? You know, I haven't read any of his works.
Children's book author.
Children's book, yeah. And so, that just seems to me that if he's from the area, so, yeah, I think that's something that's important. It's something we can address.
One of the most important takeaways, I think, between, again, this meeting and the last meeting is about trust and, you know, building those positive
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
And that's how we can move forward with the regional agreement, making sure that, you know, we're in agreement. You know, the consensus is really important between both towns and listening to the stakeholders, but keeping that in mind when we're making the decisions about, you know, what's best for students. And, you know, they're at the forefront of our mind, but just building those relationships and having trust, because, you know, people feel, right, there's sort of PTSD from what happened before, you know, so people are really reluctant, so we just want to make sure that we're mindful of that.
And I think having these meetings and being open and listen and, you know, how we get the parent information. I think we were saying like having a meeting, but at the same time maybe even having something online for people who can't come to the meeting. Or if we have the meeting, I know we did this in the past, we would have some Minichog students, you know, do childcare so parents could go in and participate and knowing that their children were being taken care of by the people who probably babysit their children during the week anyway. You know, something, you know, just, and then also something online, and let's really just take that information and get it out to the public. So maybe even talking to like Sarah from the Reminder, and when we get this information and, you know, present it to her as well, so she can get some of the information.
And this circles back to our very first meeting that we had
Mhm.
together about how are we going to disseminate the information, how are we going to present the data so people can see what we've been doing, and making sure that people understand, you know, the impact of the choices that we're providing, and all of the different avenues, making sure that, right, there's the, you know, and not just having doing it one time.
Right.
You know, so there could be forums, there could be, you know, we talked about having like the superintendent's corner and utilizing, you know, their print media, you know, social media, you know, surveys, so many different ways to make sure that we're reaching everybody and making sure we're really getting the message out there so we can get as much feedback as possible,
Right.
which is a good thing. Do you have anything to add about?
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Good.
Yeah, I've been thinking that it would be important to create a video of this so that those who can't attend have a way of sharing information, can share it reliably, to be shared through social media and other outlets.
What do you mean of this?
Of this whole presentation that we want to
Right.
provide for the community before we ask them for their choices. So just thinking about some things that I may want to discuss. I think it would be important to gather some footage of some of the overcrowding situations that we are experiencing in the district, because I think that is not well known. And also some footage showing some of the underutilization in other parts of the district. So I think those would be powerful, because that's, for me, where this conversation begins. What we're trying to address at this time is creating more optimal learning environments for students by making sure that they have enough space to learn effectively, right? And so if that's the core, we kind of have to show that to people, because to say it is one thing, but to see it with your own eyes is
Right.
a different experience.
Agreed. I would also say that considering that every single option that we have here has 8th grade coming to Minichog, could we start finalizing what that would look like and then put that in the video as well?
Mhm.
showing the students from when they get dropped off to walking into a building, into the classrooms. I'm sure we can get the kids to participate. They would love it. I would even recommend having our students film it, you know, and edit it and such. But to have that so they can see this is what it would look like, and this is how the bells would sound like. This is that. And since, you know, we've known for a while that, you know, 8 through 12 is on every plan. I don't think there's one plan that doesn't have 8th grade here, so we don't have to wait. We can start looking to see how it would go, start planning what would the buildings look like, what would the classrooms look like, and because that's going to be a big piece for people, because most people have read Lord of the Flies, and I think that they get a little crazy that when you leave children alone, they all want to kill each other. But I think there's actually a group that Lord of the Flies was based on. There was some British students that were stuck on an island, and what they found happened is the opposite. They were empathetic, they took care of each other. If someone got hurt, they took care of them, and they worked together as a unit. So like that, let's disprove the book, and let's show them what we have. And then talk about, you know, that, hey, you can be an 8th grader, and, you know, you're a math whiz, well, there's some math classes available to you. And how would that work? Because I'm sure they're not going to be on a block schedule.
Yeah, I think,
Right.
so one of the things that, you know, came out of the first, when we met with the teachers and making sure that we are planning and making sure that we're taking our time and really drilling down on what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
Carefully planning, what is the experience of the student going to be?
Right.
It's more than just bringing the students and putting,
Oh,
you know, 120
100%.
students in this building.
Yeah.
You know, so just making sure that that's carefully planned out and making sure, you know, one of the things that we're doing here is we're really listening
Right.
to the teachers and to the different boards and
100%.
gathering that feedback. So that is, I think, is really going to be a really huge
Yeah.
piece.
And I think and I assume it would be Steve, maybe it wouldn't be, maybe it would be someone else, but that would figure out how we would construct you know, what classrooms would be where, how that would work out, and then work with the teachers and saying, listen, we could keep things the way they are today, worst case scenario, best case scenario, every option, 8th grade's coming here, so let's do the work, let's roll up our sleeves. There's no reason to wait and then suddenly be rushed to come up with something. Let's get everyone involved, let's have meetings, let's how would it look like, how would it happen exactly, what would the curriculum like, what would the classroom like, what would the bells sound like? Because I believe this building has it so that you can ring one bell here every hour and no bell over there. I mean, it's like by classroom you can actually have different, I remember being told this once, I don't know if it's true, I didn't check it, but I was told that there is technology in the building that something like that could happen. Again, this is to get to the bottom of it and figure it out.
Are you talking for September or?
No, I'm just
Okay.
saying for the future.
In general,
Like,
yeah.
there's no reason for us to wait. If we know best case scenario, it's gonna happen, well, let's start planning it now. And then that can be something that would help build on this trust piece when they see the work that has been done. Because I think of all the moving around, the only one that people really seem to be that concerned with is the 8th grade coming here. So we have this time. Like, I you know, we're not gonna be able to implement whatever we're deciding for September, because that's already next year. So we're looking at a year from this September, right? And I think that should be what we're shining on, what we're focusing on, and making that happen. So how would we do that? And actually, if it works out, let me see, this September, yeah, okay.
So as I'm sure you know, the new year kind of begins for superintendents with the Executive Institute in early July.
Right,
I have plans to get together with my Cape Cod superintendents who I've found through this
great.
exploration process, and I'll be gathering materials and, you know, sample schedules and things at that meeting. And have had positive responses to having us do a tour when we're all on the Cape for the November MASC. So I'd like to have everyone put that date on their calendars. Have let Steve know that I'd love for him to bring a team of his teachers as well, also some 8th grade teachers, so that people can see how it's working in other schools.
You say the beginning of July, like, you talking the first week of July, or?
I think it's the 2nd week of July.
I had the first week of July off, I was thinking I'd be willing to take a day and go down, but, yeah.
We'll be there in November.
Yeah.
That's good.
Excellent.
You talked about DESI at some point.
Mhm. Thank you for bringing that up. That's my traditional plea at these meetings. Any change to the regional agreement would also have to be signed by the commissioner. There is an office at the Department of Ed that works with regional districts and has a legal team that will help them with changes to their agreement. So I think that it would be helpful sometime sooner in the process rather than later to get the department involved, so we don't go so far down the road and then have them say, oh, but you forgot about this. This is really important to us. You really should take a look. So I thank you for bringing that up. I think we should get them involved pretty soon.
Yeah, I would say, again, sooner than later. So right now, we're looking at two options, you know, to have language for what option K through 12 would look like, and what option 6 through 12 would look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that if we can get Desi to start working and thinking on that, that'd be great. We could start working on how 8th grade would look here. And then, you had one point said we needed to, you know, whittle this down to, and then start putting some price tags on what it would cost to make these happen, make these a reality. At that last meeting, I felt that really, I mean, please chime in if I'm mistaken, but it's really 7, 8, 9, and 10 seem to be where we're gonna be landing, somewhere in those three,
That was the consensus.
Yeah.
right? Every group that we talked to, the other thing which I want to bring at that meeting, that was at that meeting, was a really good point. When they found out that we had, how many hundred, what did we have, like 100 and something options, or when you first
Yes.
came?
Yes.
I think they were like, whoa, you started with that many, and you kept whittling it down, whittling it down, whittling it down. I thought that they were, most people were impressed, and I didn't hear that later, saying like, you really had that many? And I said, I can show you the sheet of paper with the crossing everything out. But I think we do need to, let's say, focus on these 4 options, and I think we really need to, the next steps are the parents and the students, you know?
Well, we had also different parent groups, so.
Right, yes.
School councils,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
PTOs, those groups, and then.
Yeah, that's all part of it, right?
Yeah.
We can
But I think
meet with those.
Divided it into 2, just because.
Yeah, we can meet with those, we can meet with parents, we're gonna have multiple meetings with parents, we can have meetings here in Wilbraham, we can have meetings also in Hamden, we can have meetings in Minnetonka, we can do things online, you know, I say that the more robust, the better, the more, robust, one word.
Transparency.
Transparent, but also the more
We'll keep
thorough.
it the process, yeah.
The more thorough, that we're really, you know, that a parent can't turn without, no one was like, what, the meeting's happened, I never knew about it. No, everyone, you know, hopefully we'll get everybody. Oh yeah, I wasn't able to go to the meetings, but I did the survey, or I watched the videos and such like that, so. And then now that we are saying that it looks like that we're hoping to make this happen in September of 2024,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So that's, and still, we have 4 very distinct and different options, and then we have 2 distinct and different, you know, plans, you know, for the regional agreement. I had heard, most people were talking about, when you're talking about the funding, what do you call it, funding formula, whatever?
Assessment.
The assessment formula. That, I've heard 5-year assessments, I've heard 7 years, so it's, you know, 5-year average, 7-year average. I've heard 5, probably 2 to 1 over 7. coming from Hamden, what do you think of either of those?
Probably 5.
Okay,
I think makes sense if people can wrap their head around that.
right,
I think the one thing with the funding formula in Hampton will be, if we're giving up something, what are we getting for our money? So I think, we have to be very careful how we word that. And I'm not quite sure how, I mean, I love a good fight at town meeting floor, so.
Well, we don't necessarily want it to be a
Anyone ever
fight.
seen me?
If you look at how contentious
Well, they're
this,
gonna, the issue is gonna be, well, why am I sending my kid over there, I'm sending my kid over there and I'm paying more money? I don't like that idea. You know what I mean? So there's, we have to, again, going to that, we have to explain everything and how it's gonna
Right.
be better and more important and educationally
And another video
better
right
for the
there.
kid,
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
Cause I don't think people are unreasonable.
No, I don't think,
Yeah,
but I
no.
think providing them the information
That's
so
right.
they know,
Right.
accurate information,
right,
So if I could say that, we could say to them, yeah, you're gonna pay a little bit more, but this is what your kid's gonna get
Mhm.
by going to the 6th grade over there, or
Yeah.
7th grade over there,
And with these options too, I think it's important really to look at the capital needs of the buildings,
right,
Right.
making sure,
Yeah.
what those look like, because we're talking about it, but the numbers are really important.
yeah, let's say that we pick, options 9 or 10, which requires putting students in TWB, what is the cost gonna be of getting TWB, up and running? It's a, yeah,
Are there costs associated with bringing the students here?
right,
You know, I
Yeah.
don't know that.
right, oh yeah, I'm
So
sure there
it's-
are.
Right, so
Yeah.
I think that is something that just we should know because
Yeah.
money purposes and budget.
Well, I think that if we start with how would we implement these 3 plans, and, how, what expenses would there be, So, and I think that in order to do that, you'd have to pull all the principals in. You'd need janitorial staff here as well. You'd need, some representative from the bus. Is there a way here that works better for buses? And not to say that, if option A or option 7 is the best for busing, but we think that's what's best for students is option 10, we're gonna go for option 10. But we need to know
Mhm.
what the costs are and make sure that that's up front. When we were working on the 5-year strategic plan, I was saying like we should have costs on there. We should really talk about what the costs of implementing this plan are, so people just don't think that the plan was an end in itself, right? That we understand that this plan, that there is gonna be costs associated with the things that we're gonna have to do with these, and let people know, hey, if we implement this, it's going to be between this and year, this and this in year 1, this and this in year 2, and so on, so that, when you start asking for money, and then we have more conversation over that $100,000, that you were gonna put for the strategic plan, and everyone was incredulous about, like, what, it's gonna cost money to do the strategic plan? It's like, yeah, it's a plan, plan a war, and then the war doesn't cost anything. It does, so that might be another thing that we should do. So we have, funding formula, we gotta do the cost of,
I could be wrong, but does it make sense because we're looking at 4 configurations? Is it fair to say that we've narrowed it down to these 4, that these are the ones that we're interested in presenting on? So then what you do is you take each configuration, now some of them have the same, so I don't know that it would be some extra work because we have different buildings involved, but then you just drill down on each one of these scenarios and say, look at the costs associated with whether, closure or preparing it for whatever grade bands we're looking at,
Yeah.
looking at what the scheduling would look like, the impact of the student, how it would improve, and drill down on each scenario.
Yep.
And then that would provide hopefully all the data that we're looking for, and we can obviously, tweak it as it becomes available, and then.
do we wanna cut these 4 down to 2? Or is these 4, because if you really look at it, it's really 3. number 7 and number 10, and then number 8 and 9 are the same, except TWB and WMS would be switching.
Right, but I think, I mean, we can, whatever the groups decide, but I think it's important because we're talking about two different.
I would suspect the cost would be different, because there'd be
Right,
a
of
lot of
course.
rehab to TWB.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for people to see that, to know that, so I would not wanna
Keep
just
them informed.
eliminate it,
Yeah.
and then that way people can make, can
Right.
say, you know, this is
But we also have to,
exponentially higher than.
right,
Mhm.
when we present this, we didn't know that the teachers and the principals and stuff, they were very heavily in favor of number 7.
Mhm.
So we gotta make sure that, you know,
This is also a, so I think I asked this last time, we changed that to, mile two, just, K to 1.
correct.
And pre-K, it's not pre-K, it's just K to 1,
Mhm.
because pre-K would be Hudson Green Meadows for the entire district,
Isn't 7?
And we could do that for all of
for all of
them.
them, yeah,
To-
Yeah, well.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, K to 1,
just
and then
For clarity.
pre-K would be at, yeah,
for the best.
yep. What a great school that Green Meadows is.
Mhm.
And then, so I see it as information gathering, which we still have to do with the parents, and we have to be careful about that, but at the same time, we're gathering information on the feasibility and costs of these plans. And then we also have to, I guess, almost go through that meeting again, like meet with the educators again and the administrators on, all right, here's the plans, this is what we have, whatever, and then just start saying, okay, now instead of having these, here's the 4, let's talk about these 4 with the costs associated and stuff like that, and what are their feelings about educational value, and then meet with the towns and saying, here's the 4, you know, what do they think about the costs, you know, and would they be able to support those costs? So for example, so say, you know, to change Wilbraham Middle School to a 1 through 5th grade, and let's say the cost of that is something that Wilbraham was like, wait, that's just way too high, then that would be a reason that we wouldn't, you know, that's a mark against it, so to speak, right? So, yeah, we just kind of have to refine it, keep the groups going, make sure that everyone is settling on where we're settling, and that anyone who wanted to speak in either way is heard. And then to start putting these videos together, I would say, now, you're doing the website with Redeker, correct?
Mhm.
Now, Redeker uses Wild Apple still or not?
They do.
They do, great. So Wild Apple is an organization that it exists, I believe at the time, maybe this has changed over the years, but they had an office at Post Office Park in Wilbraham, but the owners are from Hamden. And their kids have been in the system, everything, so it is so great that they're involved, and also Redeker, you know, we've been with Redeker for forever, so, you know, and Rich, you know, raised his kids in Hamden and had his kids go through our system too, so I think that'll be great, because how I used to know how the software could work was you can actually have on the home page, you can put yourself a button, people can click on it and they can go and they can see all these videos and they can, you know, you can really make it easy, adding things up and moving things around. It was just very, very intuitive.
Is the kindergarten full day?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And what about the pre-K?
Half day.
And what age are they?
Pre-K is 3 and 4, kindergarten's 5 and older.
Do they go, are 3 and 4 together, or do they go?
Sometimes, I mean, there is typically a younger classroom and an older classroom, but it's not an absolute rule that they can't be together.
well, I missed that last, but was that, who couldn't be together?
The 3 and 4-year-olds, they can be together, but we do split them up usually. Anyways, so I think that looking into 4 is reasonable, but just to be honest, the amount of work that we just described here, which all has to be done, is not weeks, it's probably months.
Yes, of
It's-
course.
It's,
That's why we said our
Right.
goal is a week
Yeah.
from this, a week from today, we have to have all this done.
We're not meeting
I-
till
I-
now, so it's double this.
A year from September, if that's the date that we're looking at to implement all this, I think that's an important time too. Because that gives us a solid year, or let's say a little less than a year, to really put everything together, present it. We just had town meetings at both towns where we can present this as another step in it, in this process.
so what I would think is that I'd spend the summer working on some of the financial projections, figuring out schedules, possible schedule options. And then probably in the fall, work on developing some videos. At that time, we'll
That's
have
fine.
more, we'll have some more relevant information. We'll be able to show what Green Meadows looks like next fall
Mhm.
and what the middle school looks like next fall.
Right.
Um,
And then also, so if you look here, so Mile Tree, in all the options. In option number 10, it says pre-KK,
That's what I was saying, so, the Mile Tree
would
would
that be
be
K1?
yeah, always
Okay,
be
yeah.
K1.
Okay, great, and then it would be, 2 to 5, 2 to 5, okay, great. All right, super. Yeah, good, and then,
When do we meet with the parents?
I would say,
when do we
Probably
start meeting
next-
with the parents?
I would say next year, because as you said, we wanna have as much detail as possible because they're gonna wanna see what this would actually look like. So we have to figure some of that out, so that it
Do
doesn't.
you wanna have a couple preliminary this year, at least, to say, look at, here's the direction that we're heading, here's the plan, here's the rough outline, here's the timetable, here's what we started with this many, and we cut it down for whatever reasons to this, that we had the teachers involved, let that, at least kind of a state of the union, so to speak, state of the change, just so that they are kept in the loop instead of just saying, well, you gotta wait until the fall. I think letting them, and so when they're talking with each other over in the summer, they can start having these conversations about confidence in what we're doing and how we're doing it. What do you think?
I'm concerned just of timing, so spring is such a busy time, just with school events right now, for if
Yeah.
you have children anywhere between, probably 5 and, graduating high school, you're busy with sports.
Oh, my son's
You're
at a
busy
baseball
with
game that I'm not at
senior-
right now.
My child, yeah, same, so
Yeah.
I think everyone's really busy just running around and, end of the school year, you have all sorts of events happening, so I think the timeline between now and the end of the school year is busy. Then we're in summer, and we're on summer vacation, trying to coordinate, so I think that we might get a better response, but I think pushing the information out in some capacity, whether it's like a letter before the end of the year, an email, or whatever it is, maybe just sharing information about what we've been doing and or this is what we're discussing. We do discuss it regularly at this meeting, of course, which is public
And
and
it's
it's recorded.
Recorded, yeah?
We discuss all of this at every school committee meeting, so there have been updates and the information is out there, but we wanna make sure that people have accurate information. So sending, I think, information out is important,
Mhm.
but I think just as far as, accessibility for people, realistically with schedules right now, I think it just might be better attended once people kind of settle down and
Mhm.
get back to school.
I think in
That's just-
September, you said September, I think if you start it now, then it might create a rumor mill that in September, guess what, your kid's going to.
That rumor mill's already
The rumor
going.
is, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm
That
saying.
train's,
That-
a
that-
bullet train.
That's why I'm saying we should have a meeting beforehand, just so that we can put to rest some of the rumor mill. No, even if it's one that's recorded, we put it online, and maybe it's not many, we have one here at Minnetonka, where people show up and more of like present what we've done, and then start answering, or start listening to hear what people say and what people think. But I think in order to get ahead of the rumor mill, because the rumor mill is fast and strong. I heard this rumor about Mile Tree changing its school times, starting times, and I was like, no, it's gonna be the middle school and the high school. I said, it's definitely not it. I'm a school committee member, I know. And then later I found out I was wrong. So I'm a school committee member, I didn't know, so, oops. So, yeah, I just think that, you don't know what's rumor, you don't know what's
Yeah.
truth, so let's get the truth out there. I totally appreciate
Yeah.
what you're saying about,
I mean, I
maybe
suppose it
people
could just
can't
be a
attend.
generalized, we've looked at 130 something options, and we've narrowed it down to, to say.
I mean, that could be a
We
letter
should
too.
invite everybody to our school committee.
A letter.
meetings.
Could be a letter, could be
Yeah.
a video.
Could be a letter, could be a video, yeah.
And we meet here every 2 weeks too.
And we'll be meeting,
Mhm.
talking about it for the next year.
Mhm. But I can work on some kind of message.
But I would even say going that step further and saying, before we sell you on anything, we're not selling anything. We're trying to find the best for the students and then the best for the town, the best for the parents, the best for the community. But then just say, we will be having some videos that will be showing you what these changes
In
would be.
community meetings
And we'll have meetings and there'll be surveys and the communication will definitely be flowing. And do we wanna maybe, I just thought of this, do we wanna set up some kind of, if you have any questions, send it to planning committee at hwrsd.org or something like that, right? So if you have any questions or concerns or issues or, just so that if
Yeah.
people start to panic or something comes out, they can send it.
That might not be, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
You could.
Jude, is that okay with you?
If people write in and say, I heard this, then we can say no.
If you wanna communicate.
Or yes.
I mean, you could say, send it to, M. Boudreau or S.
Yeah.
Kennedy or something like that, but if we had it,
Generic
if we had it
ones.
all go to,
Mhm. The only other option you could do is at our next planning committee meeting, we can do the same format as we did for the teachers and the boards and invite people to the meeting, do the same sort of format, see who shows up, see if people have input. That way, that message can go out and then kind of resume with more detail in the fall.
well, what about,
Would you do a blanket, I mean,
Well, just some, the same format, presenting, these are the,
yeah, but I thought we were gonna do that with the different groups,
for the next
the
group.
different, the PTOs
Right, that's
and
what
stuff
I'm
like that,
talking
yeah.
about,
That would be this year, right?
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
I don't think you wanna say, invite everybody, 500 people.
No, but just the
The
next,
PTO
yeah,
and
Yeah, the different PTOs from the different buildings, the different
school councils.
school councils from the buildings, and, yeah, I think that would be.
Yeah.
And then that would be good, and then we can announce that, here's the plan that we have, and then here's, if you have a question or if you hear something and you're worried about it, you can send,
Mhm.
an email here or call. I mean, I know my number's on the server, I get calls, I get a fair amount of calls from parents. So, it's all right, I like it.
Good for you.
Yeah, this is great.
Right, so next meeting, if everyone's okay with that,
Yep.
Yeah.
be John list.
Yep.
Oh,
So with that, we'll just plan our next.
very important news, my son's team is winning 2-1, it's the top of the second.
Michelle, 2 weeks is the prom. Unichog's prom is
Okay.
Tuesday the 30th.
We can't go to the
Can't
prom.
go to the prom.
So the following maybe Tuesday?
The 6th. Yes, that's June 6th, sound good?
Do we have anything like that?
And that'll be the one that we're inviting all of the parents in other elected positions and PTOs.
Yeah.
Okay.
PTOs, school councils, what else?
CPAC.
What day is it?
Yeah.
CPAC parents and.
What day is it?
Oh, yeah, is that the
Tuesday
special
on
ed
sixth,
parent
June
groups
sixth.
to that as well?
I'll send you an
You know
invite.
the drill.
Yeah.
And I guess we would do it, can we do it at the library, or we'd have to do it at the,
Same, we'll do the
Yeah.
same exact format,
Same
Super.
format.
same configuration.
how many people are we talking about this?
The CPAC alone could be 20, I'm not sure how many will show
Yeah.
up. I would say probably about the same size as the last.
Yeah, I'll book the IOC.
Okay, super.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Okay, all right, roll call, Don?
Aye.
Don, sorry,
Aye.
Walker and myself, we are adjourned at 6:11,
Thank
All
you.
right, so we're not meeting on the 23rd, correct?
correct.
I got, we have a